Warning: this podcast episode contains swearing, drinking, brief discussions of abuse towards mental illness patients, and some brief discussions revolving around symptoms associated with the Black Death. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, a quick note here, we made the mistake of underestimating the extent to what a microphone could pick up, so you may hear some street traffic sounds in the background. We hope that it's not too distracting, and we thank you for bearing with us. Without any further ado, here is episode 1, Povegia Island.
Hello and welcome to Demons and Bellinis, the podcast where we whip up a drink and talk about some spooky shit. I'm your co-host, the corpse of a sacrificed cat that you found in your local woods, Molly.
And I'm what you get when you combine a super hulock fangirl with the harsh realities of death, Ashley.
Are you fucking kidding me, Ashley? I hate that. I hate that. Today's pilot episode is about the infamous Povegia Island, so grab a beverage of your choosing, get cozy, and check your closet for monsters. And remember, stay peachy. Alright, so why don't you introduce yourself, Ashley?
Alright. Well, for those of you on the tumblr.com.net.org, you might know me as a Queen of OK, or a Ghost Kid. By day, I write fanfics about YouTubers, and by night, I don't do anything by night. I do the same thing at night.
You're writing all the time, basically.
Oh, yeah, no. I do a lot of writing and trying to write my own original short horror stories. I keep saying I'm gonna do that, but I don't. Anyways.
Yeah, so where does your perspective on, the paranormal and horror come? So, where does that come from?
I got into ghost stuff when I was in probably grade 9. It was when I first, really started getting into the paranormal. And then kind of progressed through high school, and now it's being a horror writer, or trying to be a horror writer, and exploring the paranormal, and pursuing a history degree. All these things kind of combined, and it's a little bit more of, an everyday passion.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, I decorate with my room with ghost stuff. I have a ghost on my arm. It's a tattoo. So... yeah, the paranormal is kind of an everyday thing, and I think my perspective of it is that I think it is a science. I think that is something that one day we will be able to explain. We just can't right now, because, maybe we're not there yet scientifically, or, we're missing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that there is, a kind of energy or a magic around us and in the universe. And I'm gonna throw that to you. You're a, part-time, full-time? Are you still witch, or?
A little bit. Alright, so, I'm Molly. You might know me because, like many people of this, 21st century, 20-gay teen, I run a moderately successful Tumblr blog. You might also know me because I've lent my voice talents, quote unquote. I've lent that to the
I just want to point out that you actually did the air quote signs to the microphone.
I did. I have done voice acting for the Under Society podcast, and I will be appearing in the upcoming audio drama Code 1033, which will be coming out sometime in December, I believe.
Sexy.
Yeah. And I'm kind of a new horror fan, I would call myself, because up until very recently, I was very, very, very wary of the paranormal, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I've kind of always had an interest in things that aren't necessarily from this world. I was a very avid fantasy reader growing up, and that kind of translated into what I do now, which is a lot of energy work in my witchcraft. I'm a witch, in case you weren't aware. And a lot of what I work with...
She's a bitch!
I'm a witch, bitch!
She's a ghost and a bitch!
That should have been my intro. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Yeah, a lot of what I do with witchcraft isn't necessarily stuff that I can see. A lot of it is non-corporeal, and a lot of stuff that I can kind of feel inside of. That's sexy. But yeah,
I
it's
feel
a lot
of different things inside of me too.
I feel the gay energy just going through me. I can tell you firsthand that what I work with is real. I do feel an actual reaction from it, and I do believe that what I do has effects. So I think from that perspective, there's no way that there's not ghosts. You know, I think that energy and environments kind of go hand in hand. And I think that if something bad happens, that certainly does cast a scar on a place. And so I think that that is probably what the main factor in what goes into places like the ones that we're going to be talking about today. I also want to make this clear that we aren't coming about this podcast from an unbiased perspective. It's not like we have one person who doesn't believe in ghosts, one person that does. We're not BuzzFeed Unsolved. We both definitely believe in the paranormal, so you're not going to find an unbiased approach to this in this podcast. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm very sorry.
Wait until I bring my boyfriend on, and then he'll tell us to just, check for mold.
Pretty much, yeah.
He's very, no bullshit, there's a logical explanation for everything. Which is kind of nice, because I'm the complete opposite, which is I hear a sound in the room at night, and I'm like, we're both gonna fucking die!
Yeah.
And it's just my dog rolling over and hitting the wall.
That's just sometimes how it be. You know, sometimes it's a ghost, and sometimes it's a dog. It depends.
Or it's a ghost dog.
Fuck. You're so right. Alright. We also kind of want to make it clear.
We're both kind of gay. We both watched and we know that our intros are kind of based off of so please don't come for us because we already came for ourselves.
We are your local gays in 2018. None of us are gay. We're just kind of on the spectrum of LGBTQ.
Ambiguous.
She just did a finger guns at the microphone. I just want to be clear on that.
I did that and said ambiguous. Shout out to John on the radio.
Video killed the radio star, but podcasts are come to bite their ass.
Jesus Christ. Alright, so what are we talking about today, Molly?
We are talking about Povegia Island. So, Ashley, what do you know about Povegia Island?
I know that Zach Bagans got fucked up on that island.
So,
that's gonna get me banned by Zach Bagans on Twitter.
Yeah.
You don't go throwing around shit like that without getting banned.
Yeah. So, in case you're not in the know, Povegia Island is fairly infamous throughout the paranormal interest community. Lots of people know about it, you know? It's a very weird island, I would say. I'm just gonna set the scene for you. It's a couple miles away from Venice. It's this beautiful, isolated island. It has crumbling ruins of a mental hospital there. These luscious vineyards, which produce very beautiful grapes in the, harvesting months. Ashley, why are you laughing?
I don't know why, but I found grapes really funny.
It's cute.
Alright, keep fucking going. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So essentially, what fertilizes these grapevines is is human remains.
Oh.
Yeah, it's rumored that up to 50% of the soil on Poveglia Island is human remains.
Is that organic?
I'm pretty sure.
I only drink organic wine.
Yeah.
Is this from, people being buried there?
In a sense, we're gonna get into that. So just to, kind of give you a visual, this island has a church, the Grape Vineyard / the Plague Fields, a hospital, an asylum, and a bell tower, which was later converted into a lighthouse. And there's also, housing for the various staff who worked at the asylum.
You know what I would pay to try? Wine made from those grapes in the Plague Fields.
How much?
I mean, it's probably gonna make me incredibly sick. So maybe $20.
This wine that we're drinking today is $20.
Is it from the Plague Fields?
I don't think it is. I can't imagine that it's from the Plague Fields. Human remains, it's a great fertilizer.
Is it organic? I already made that joke.
You did.
Is it gluten-free? Gluten.
I don't think that wine has gluten in it.
Oh wait, no, that's beer. I don't like beer. Beer's gross.
Just a little bit. Alright. Before we kind of go into what happened on this island, I just kind of want to talk about our encounters, because what we've noticed in a lot of ghost investigation shows, is that oftentimes they go into the full history and then the encounters. Both me and Ashley think that,
sometimes it's good to look at kind of what goes on now and what people experience, and then kind of looking to the past and seeing, okay, why is this happening? That's something that, like, as a person who studies history, is that what we do a lot, is, like, we look at what's happening now, and we go, okay, why is this happening? What happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago to make this happen? Right? You can do it both ways, history into encounters, encounters into history, as long as you're looking for connections and possible explanations. I think that that is a good way to maybe attempt to explain what's going on. Like, say if, you know, you move into a house and you start experiencing the typical haunting stuff, you'll go, okay, why is this happening? And you go back and, like, 20 years ago, someone died in that house.
Yeah.
Right? And they'd be like, oh, it all makes sense now. So it's kind of interesting, I think, to take a different approach where it's like, here's what's happening now. Let's go back and see why it's happening.
Plus, this is, like, kind of on a different perspective, but I feel like oftentimes with locations like this, I mean, you'll see more as we go through the episode, but I feel like when a location gets so much attention and notoriety, that very much influences our perspective on the paranormal aspect. So that's why we're kind of going into the paranormal aspect, then going into the history, and then following that, we're going to see if there are any connections there, and decide for ourselves whether this place is haunted. But what you need to know about this island going into the encounters is that all these human remains came about from a couple different events. There were some various plagues that you might have heard of these plagues, you know, in Europe. It's kind of a thing. And then there was also a mental hospital that was built, and I'm not going to say much more. Due to all the human remains and, like, the dark energies that are kind of surrounding this island, it's said that many dark forces still reside on the island, whether this is demonic activity or ghostly activity. It is illegal to visit the island without permission, but a lot of investigators and thrill seekers continue to trespass. Many people report feeling watched or followed. More violent spirits are even said to scratch, push, or even chase visitors. Actually, when I was researching this episode, I very diligently looked up Povegia Island on YouTube just to see what would be there. And, I mean, the first result is obviously Ghost Adventures, but there are actually a lot of urban exploration YouTubers who go to Poveglia Island, which is kind of interesting because I associate Poveglia Island with some, like, top core shit paranormal investigation, not necessarily just regular YouTubers who are going to visit Poveglia Island.
That tends to be a thing, though, is that all these fucked up places, urban explorers are like, oh, I want to go there. Or, you know, and it makes you kind of nervous because there is kind of a rating system in the paranormal community where 1 is like a regular old little haunted house and a 10 is something like Poveglia Island or a big massive abandoned building that has a lot of physical risks such as it falling apart, or there's maybe asbestos in the air, or, you know, other physical stuff going on with the environment. Or 2, you got demons who want to fuck your shit up, right? And so you have these people who are like urban explorers who just want to explore places, and they go into these places without much, you know, kind of research beforehand, except for a Wikipedia search. And it's like, honey, no. Take care of yourself. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people get hurt on these shows, which is not to say that I'm shaming anyone who does urban exploration, because I find those videos so interesting.
Just be careful.
I love watching it. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, wear a fucking mask.
Yeah.
Basically is what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying, but, like, I mean, maybe sage yourself before you go in. Sage before and after, guys. Use protection.
Don't breathe in asbestos.
Basically. Alright, so getting back to the encounters, there are also reports of shadow people and disembodied voices, and even cases of feeling ill. Footsteps can also be heard, and electronics are known to malfunction during investigations. There's also been a couple occasions where psychics have been brought to the island, and they report feeling a very dark energy, like a very morbid, heavy energy there, which I don't think is a surprise considering, you know, the plagues, and considering the fact that this place was a mental hospital, and as we know, people who were in power didn't necessarily treat those with mental illnesses as they should have. So, needless to say, there are a lot of dark things that have happened on this island, is what I'm trying to say. So, I don't find the fact that psychics report a very malicious feeling very surprising.
This is kind of off topic. I feel like we should get this out of the way. How likely are you to believe a psychic? Like, from a 1 being I don't believe you to a 10 being I totally 100% believe you.
I think, personally, it would depend on vibes that I get from them. I've definitely met people who I think have a connection to, they can tap into the other world. But then, on the other hand, I've definitely met some psychics where I think that they were bullshitting. Like, that's not to disrespect them in any account, but it's just, like...
They were bullshitting.
They were bullshitting, yeah. So, But the fact that these are multiple sidekicks, Well, that's... Another perspective to kind of take on this is the fact that they would have also known about the history of Povegia Island. Potentially, I would imagine so. So they would probably have some biases too in this case. Because
normally, for me, when it comes to psychics, I'm around a 4. Mm-hmm. I'm very hesitant to believe psychics. I mean, one of like my favorite period times to study is like the 1918 spirituality thing or movement. What makes that period so fascinating is that people were faking shit out of their ass. Mm-hmm. And they're doing that all to make money. And that's a trend that continues well throughout the 20th century, right? And it's something you still see today with all these ghost shows, but majority of them are fake. It's hard to ignore the fact that people want to watch a good story and they're going to give people the benefit of the doubt. But if you abuse that, you know, you have like your moment of fame, then it's like, So whenever a psychic is like, oh, I feel something, I'm like, how? Explain it. Show me. Show me, don't tell me, bitch.
That's true. Yeah.
So whenever psychics come up, I'm gonna be a little bit more,
That's fair. That's valid. You're valid, Ashley. Another source, actually several sources, not just one source, discussed this rumor that this family had purchased the island with the intent of building a vacation home. Yeah, I know, a vacation, like, it's prime location, you know, like a couple miles off the coast of Venice. Like, that would be a beautiful location. However...
Isn't Venice gonna sink in, like, 20 years?
I don't think it's 20 years, but at some point in time it will sink.
I want a long-term vacation home.
I want one that'll last me at least a millennia. If I'm paying that much for real estate, the price of real estate...
Look it. When I'm a ghost, I want a nice vacation home to hang out in. And I don't want it sinking into the fucking... What is it? Is it a river out there? I don't know my geography.
It's coastal. Sorry. Yeah, this family purchased the island with the intent of building a vacation home. However, on the first night, they were plagued... Finger guns there. They were plagued by, they were plagued by a lot of dark energies, and the daughter was rumored to have her face torn off.
What the fuck?
Almost, and required near 14 stitches.
You can't just say she had her face almost ripped off and not, like, what?
Yeah.
How? Like, did something just claw her? Holy shit. Like, was it trying to, like, peel the skin off?
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ew.
Mm-hmm. Furthermore, it's alleged that locals can still hear the bell tolling, even though the bell in the tower has been removed. A couple other sources also claimed that charred remains wash up onto shores.
From where?
From Povegia Island, and that the fishermen tend to avoid that area due to the fear of having remains caught up in their net. And furthermore, just in general with the fishermen, because this being an island, there are lots of fishermen out in the sea. There's a lot of fish in the sea.
I love seamen.
I hate you so much. In general, fishermen tend to avoid the area due to the fear of it being cursed, which, again, I don't think is that far of a stretch, considering, you know, the history, which we're going to get into. And they reported seeing apparitions along the bridge, which separates the plague fields from the main sector of the island. And finally, getting into Ghost Adventures territory, Zach Bagans was also alleged to have been possessed in the hospital.
Alleged? Bitch, that shows 100%.
I'm pretty sure they dramatized just a little bit of it.
Oh, yeah, no, I give them the benefit of the doubt, though.
Please don't block me, Zach Bagans. Alright, so let's get into the history of this. This island was a place where plague victims were quarantined in 1348, and then once again in 1630, there was an asylum that opened up in 1922 before being closed in 1968. So going back to the plague history, it used to be a checkpoint where merchant ships were inspected before proceeding into Venice, but 2 ships had cases of the plague, which is why they were isolated in 1793.
Bitch got rats! That's how it was passed around.
It was.
The fleas on the rats.
Yeah. After the plague victims passed, their bodies would be burned at pyres, and then their remains would be dumped into the pits. And one would think that, you know, they're being cremated, there wouldn't be all these remains, but actually, surprisingly, I mean, not surprisingly, but you have to get fires pretty fucking hot to fully disintegrate bones. So
Spontaneous human combustion is my favorite cryptid.
that's how I want to be cremated.
I said that to my mom once, and she, like, actually got mad at me.
Does she have a relative who died from spontaneous combustion?
No, she thought it was, like, a full-on myth, and I was like, no, here's an actual story of it happening in 1952, and she's like, ugh!
That's valid. Yeah.
I know this is really off topic, but it happens, most often people are insanely fucking drunk when it happens. Like, they've consumed a lot of alcohol, and then somehow they burst into flames. Whoosh!
Take a fucking sip, babes.
But yeah, no, sorry. I should do a spontaneous human combustion episode. It's fun
Yeah,
time.
you should.
But yeah, no.
We're not a cryptid podcast. This is a paranormal podcast.
No one knows what spontaneous human combustion is.
Could it be paranormal?
Possibly.
Fire demons?
I would assume that's what all demons are made out of.
I mean, we can't judge these demons. Maybe they're icy demons. We need some cold boys. Cracking open a cold one with the boys.
You stole that from my boyfriend.
Yeah.
But, like...
Did I?
Yeah, no, that was his favorite joke. He's joking about necrophilia.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I'm thinking. When you say they throw these bodies into the ground, all I'm thinking is all the pus from those buboes soaking into the earth. Your face! That was the first thing I thought when you said that, because, like, buboes are these big pussy things on your body, and, like, if you were to, like, they roasted them.
Oh, that smell, though.
That would be... You would, like, probably get a demon just from the smell. Demon shows up and is like, what you cooking?
That's fucking rank.
But no, I mean... that's nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. Charred human bones. Yeah, actually in the Ghost Adventures episode, they... Potentially. It's like, they're not sure because I don't think they tested it. I'd be interested to know if it was actually, but they found what looked like part of a human skull.
Oh, sexy. It's been a while since I've actually seen that episode.
Yeah, that's good because...
I didn't watch it because I knew you were doing this.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw it out there that we're gonna do our best to not be a Ghost Adventures review podcast, but it might happen.
Yeah. It's just gonna be two girls, just... sipping on some Bellinis, giving you some ASMR action.
ASMR and whispering actually makes me angry. Like, I get angry when I'm sitting in class and people beside me or behind me are... It's like, bitch, you don't have to whisper! I don't fucking care what you have to fucking say! Just talk like a regular human being at a regular fucking volume! God! Sorry, ASMR and whispering makes me really mad. Like, I can't control that. That just makes me mad. Sorry, we're off topic. What about these bones?
All you have to know is that it's one bony island. Bones.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Alright. So, kind of like getting into the death count here, it was estimated that up to 160,000 people died on this island.
Wowza.
That's a lot.
And that's, like, not a big space, too. So they all died in proximity to each other.
Yeah, because it's not a very big island. So, like, just to kind of give you a perspective here, if one person died a day on Poveglia Island, and this is just, like, a little bit of a generous thing, it would take about 449 years to reach that number. Because I know that when we get to...
So if one person died on one day to reach,
160,000.
It would take 450 years to do it.
Basically.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because I know that once we get into, like, numbers like that, I feel like, I'm just kind of speaking for myself, but it's like, oh, at least that's not a million. But I feel like we don't actually have a perspective on numbers. I'm an English major. I don't know shit about math. So, I just wanted to, like, give a perspective on that. That's a lot of bodies.
Oh, you hear, like I hate to use news like this, but, like, down in the States with that one Las Vegas shooting, wasn't it 50 people that died?
Yeah.
And we've become so desensitized, you're like, oh, okay, at least it's not 100. But it's like, that's 50 people, bitch! You have, like, 30 kids in a schoolroom classroom, right? That's 30 different individuals. You have 50? That's, like... And then you have, like, a number like that, like... I don't know, it's just, and each person has their own, soul and energy, and then like, all of that in just a mass. It's like, you can't even put that into words. Like, to hear that 160,000 people died.
160,000 people died on Povegia Island.
And
that's fucking insane. That's fucking scary. Because when you hear about this stuff on the news, you're thinking in numbers. You're not thinking in human lives. And that is fucking scary, in my opinion. I mean, I'm drunk. Everything's scary to me right now, but that's fucking scary.
Yeah, no.
I'm not even that drunk.
Yeah.
I want to be clear on that.
Like, or for, like, when you're sitting in history class and they tell you how many people died in, like, the Battle of the Somme.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people out there in the mud.
Human lives with families, yeah.
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 It's intense.
Yeah, and, like, you read these, like, short stories which are done by authors to give you perspective where they go back on the history of a soldier's life. And that's exactly how it is, except times, like, however many people died in this battle, right? Like, all these people had lives, but...
Allegedly.
I like to use the word
These
allegedly.
are people. Allegedly. That's my favorite meme. Oh my god. We're gonna make things a little bit lighter now because that was a bit heavy.
Yeah.
Let's get back on topic. That was me trying to be sexy, but it came out just sounding like not sexy.
We're not going to make this lighter, actually, because we're going to get into the time of it as an asylum. So, during its time as an asylum, there were alleged lobotomies and really, really crude experiments done on the patients. I couldn't find actual names revolving around this story, so I don't know if it actually happened or not. But because a lot of different sites sort this, I'm going to go into it. There was this doctor who was alleged to have done all these experiments and leapt to his death from the bell tower. It was claimed that he was driven mad by the spirits or even pushed. As the legend tells, a nurse witnessed his fall and claimed that he was alive when he hit the ground.
Oh, bitch.
But then he was choked to death by this smoke almost, by these dark forces.
Or was it just because he broke his spine and was bleeding out on the pavement?
Potentially.
I hear things like these where it's like, oh, it is possible that they may have been pushed down the stairs and died, or they may have been pushed from the tower. It's like, that sounds exciting and all, but there's another layer where they might have thrown themselves. Right?
Yeah. And, like, furthermore, I literally couldn't find a source for this story. There's no proof that this actually happened. This is just widespread telling. Either this is legend or this is fact.
Well, a lot of stories tend to come from truth. So there may be aspects to the story that are true. It may have been possible that a doctor did possibly commit suicide, but he didn't do the experiments on people, right? Mm-hmm. So it's I think that a lot of these stories about haunted locations, they come from truth. It's just the truth might be a lot less exciting than we think it is.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. So following its closing in 1968, the island was fully abandoned by 1975.
I'm really disappointed it didn't close in 1969.
The other day, No. Other day...
No, you do not get to go into a story that is prompted by the number 69.
It's really important. I went to the sushi place before going to work, and I got order 69. But the best part about this was that my total on the receipt, $4.20.
Get back to the fucking story.
I'll show you a video of this later. It's really important. I'll have Ashley tweet this out.
Jesus. No,
It's an important receipt. I have it taped to my wall because I love it so much. So this place was abandoned in 1975. There were attempts to restore the poorly made structures, but construction was ceased due to unknown reasons. Like, there are, still, remnants of this construction all around the island. And presumably these unknown reasons were due to the spirits. Following this, the island was purchased by this gentleman named Luigi. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Shut the fuck up. It was purchased. That's a very common name. Right.
I've been to Italy. Once.
Brugnero? Okay. It was purchased by Luigi Brugnero. I probably butchered that. I am so sorry. In 2014 for public use. More recently, you're gonna freak out about this, Ashley. I freaked out when I saw this, and I also want to be clear that when I looked at my sources for this, I went on an actual database to look this up. I used my university's library databases for the Forces of Evil. I'm so sorry.
You're doing research. How could your university get mad at you for doing that?
Yeah. So a lot of the sources that I found from this database was actually on this project. Recently, there has been a project that has been aiming to transform Povegia Island into a university campus.
What the fuck? Wait. Okay. Wait. Stop. Wait. You're saying that somebody looked at this. You're telling me that someone looked at this island and went, yeah, I want to put a university on that.
Essentially.
Like, is it like the university like me and you go to? Like that kind of thing? Or is it like
a campus? I think that the project, like the aim of the project, I think is very interesting because the aim of the project is to take pre-existing structures from abandoned places and turn them into something that's functional. And I'm not undermining that.
I love that idea. I mean, you'll see me talking about how Vancouver has a serious problem with tearing down its heritage buildings. And it's like, these buildings tell our past, they tell our history, they tell everything about where we live. Don't take them down and replace them with some cold condo. Like, there are ways to make these buildings functional, and I totally agree with that. I just think university students already have a fuck ton of shit to deal with. They don't need demons to deal with too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In my notes, I actually just have frat spirits, just space frat spirits.
Bro! Let's go, bro!
But yeah, like I said, I think that that the projects are really interesting, and I read a couple of the papers, and they're all coming from a place which I don't think that this is a bad idea. I just think that with Povegia Island, considering that obviously there are still human remains, you have to be very careful, I think, about messing with human remains. Because I get that these people died a long time ago.
It's still a moral thing.
Yeah. It is very disrespectful, I think, to take a place that should be served as a reminder of, first of all, how badly people were treated in mental hospitals throughout the 20th century. Like, the humanitarian issue of just, like, dumping these bodies. I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't think they handle the bodies incorrectly, because when you have mass deaths like this...
Oh yeah, but with the plague, it was kind of like, shit, we don't want the plague to spread. We have to get rid of these bodies ASAP, right? It's kind of like, you do what you gotta do to save more people.
Yeah.
And in looking at it now, it's kind of like, well, what do we do with all of them? And for me, I was raised, pretty Catholic, and for me, it was, you never walk over a grave. You walk around a grave, right? You never cross over a grave, because there's a body under there. You wouldn't want someone walking over you, right? Why would you want them walking over you when you're dead? So for me, it's kind of like, you should have a great deal of respect for these bodies, and also, like, the sanitary thing, too.
Yeah.
But, you don't, if you're gonna build a thing like this there, I think there are ways to handle it, right? Where you could, like, I've seen a couple museums do this kind of in a really interesting way, but they had these artifacts that they found, but they put glass over it. And then that way it's still in the ground. It's not being moved. It's not being messed with. It's protected. But you're still able to see it and remember it, and it's significant. Right?
Yeah.
So if they're gonna do this, they have to do it humanely. They have to do it in, like, a sanitary way, because, like, first of all, these are probably bodies from plague victims. You don't know what's still attached to them.
I doubt that there's still stuff that attached to them, but you're right.
Yeah, and like the third thing is also, like, you're probably gonna have a lot of people going there who could be superstitious themselves, so you have to be a little bit considerate of the spirituality side.
Yeah, and especially considering, I didn't mention this before, but I read through this one source that Napoleon actually stored weapons on this island. And the way that he was able to do this was because people were so afraid of this island that they wouldn't go around and fuck with it.
Napoleon was a bastard.
Short fucking bastard. But yeah, I think that when an island has been the subject of so much fear, it's very hard to get rid of that. And I don't think that building a university campus would be a good idea. I think it's a great project. I think that they should do this with other places, but I don't think that this particular location is the place to start this off.
Yeah. There's a lot to consider, and a lot to... Yeah, like I said, all those different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
It is really weird.
Is it bad that I would probably want to go to school there?
I don't know. I think it depends. Ashley.
I really want my face ripped off.
You want those 14 stitches? I'm so mad that it wasn't 13 stitches.
No,
like, I am so sorry to that little girl who got her face fucking torn
Wait,
off.
it was a little girl?
I don't know if it's a little girl. It's just a daughter.
But yeah, no. I want it just fully ripped. Just muscle. That's the newest look. That's how you contour.
Yeah.
The newest look is just to rip off your skin, preferably have a demon do it, and then that way you know exactly where to contour because you can see your muscles and your bones. Yeah. You want to highlight the high points and contour the low points.
Exactly.
And then blend it. And don't be afraid of doing bold makeup.
So, going off of this, what do you think is going on here? Do you think that this place is haunted? Do you think that this is paranormal? Or do you think that it's demonic? Or do you think it's just energy work?
Oh, that's hard to say. I think... Oh, that's a good question. I'm gonna say it's probably an energy thing. Because there's no... Other than the face ripping, there's no real traits of a haunting or a demon kind of thing. Because with those, you typically have... Well, you did say there are, like, footsteps and apparitions.
Yeah, shadow people. You feel watched. Zach Bagans got possessed. You know, he got fucked up.
Good point. I still feel, however, that it's more of an energy thing just because you don't have people there 24/7, right? I mean, it could possibly just be a residual thing. That tends to be with apparitions, footsteps, other things like that. It tends to be more of a residual thing where probably everywhere has residual energy. I should point out, residual is the environment soaking in vibrations from things that happen and then replaying those kind of vibrations. So say you have someone walk across the floor on February 13th and it's a full moon. 20 years later, the same conditions are repeating. It's possible you could have those footsteps be heard again. And with the whole being watched thing, I feel like if you go into a place like that and you know the history, you're gonna feel kind of disgusted already.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the right word, but you're gonna be thinking about that, right? So your mind's gonna play tricks on you because that's what you're gonna be thinking of. You're gonna be thinking like, oh shit, this place is really scary. I feel scared. Right?
The soil is fucking made up of rumored to be 50% human remains.
What's the other 50%?
Dirt.
I didn't know what I expected. I thought you were gonna say something exciting like
blood,
glass. I don't know, but
decayed grapes.
Shut up. But you know, or like you go into a house where like, oh yeah, somebody died here 30 years ago. You go into that house, you're gonna be thinking like, right? So then your brain's gonna be automatically making you feel freaked out.
Yeah. If
I was a little bit more sober, I'd be able to explain that better. But, you know, you get hyped up, you're gonna act hyped.
Yeah. That's probably what played into this psychics as well, coming and saying that there's a dark energy. I mean, I think that anyone would feel a dark energy, but I think that there's certainly a biasness going on here. Especially considering how fucking infamous this place is.
Oh, yeah.
In, like, paranormal communities. Like, you know what this is. When I mentioned that I was doing this episode to anyone who knows shit about ghosts, they knew what Povegia Island was. And even, I remember watching this brief interview with the boys of BuzzFeed Unsolved, and even Shane mentioned that he wanted to go here, and while he has a part in the paranormal community,
he's very skeptic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like you have a place like this, and it's very, like, it has a reputation, and the reputation precedes itself, right? So you go in there, and you're like, wow, almost 200,000 people died here. It's fucking scary. We're probably gonna experience some ghosty shit. And so your brain's gonna make you think you see ghosty shit. When really, it might be nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, like, full into the paranormal, but there's a lot of things you have to consider, right? So...
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you here. If this place were haunted, or if there was all this energy work here, if there was a personification of Povegia Island, and you went to Povegia Island, how likely would you be to share a Bellini with this entity?
With like, the entity haunting the island? Or
yes.
Yes, and here's why. Because whoever entity was that tried to rip that girl's face off, they must have sharp, well-done nails.
Yeah.
And a bitch who has well-done nails is gonna be so much fucking fun to hang out with.
Plus, this would also give you the opportunity to try some of that sweet, sweet ghost wine.
Shut the fuck up! Oh my god.
All right, so it looks like that's all we have time for today. Remember, always keep a watch out from behind you. Drink some wine. And stay peachy.
Bye!
Thank you so much for tuning in this week, and we hope that you enjoyed our pilot. This episode features the voices of Molly Lorette and Ashley Smith. Our theme music was composed and produced by Larry Lorette. Our cover image was designed by Ashley Smith, and the sound editing was done by Molly Lorette. Have any comments, concerns, or cases you want us to cover? Email us at demonsandbellinis@gmail.com. You can also find us at Demons and Bellinis on Tumblr, Demons and Bellinis on Instagram, and at DBellinis on Twitter. That's capital D and capital B. Thanks again, and we hope you keep your ears open.